We live in an age of confession. If you look around you at the digital squares and the physical marketplaces of our time, you will see a world that is desperate to be heard. It is a gallery of masks where every participant is shouting, performing, and broadcasting the minute details of their existence. There is a frantic energy to it, a collective anxiety that suggests if we are not making noise, we do not exist. We have been conditioned to believe that silence is a void that must be filled, that an awkward pause is a social failure, and that the person who speaks the most holds the power. But this is an illusion. The ancient philosophers, the strategists of old, and the psychologists who mapped the depths of the human soul all understood a different truth. They knew that noise is often a sign of weakness, and that true power, true sovereignty over oneself is found in the capacity to remain silent. We are going to explore the architecture of silence. We will not discuss this as a trick to manipulate others or a weapon to humiliate those around you. That is the path of the insecure. Instead, we will look at silence as a form of discernment. We will examine why the compulsion to speak betrays us, how the noise of others reveals their internal struggles, and how, by reclaiming your ability to hold your tongue, you invite a profound strength into your life. To understand the power of silence, we must first look at the landscape of noise. Why is everyone talking? If you observe a room full of people, you will notice that conversation is rarely an exchange of ideas. Often, it is a mutual discharge of anxiety. We speak to prove we are smart. We speak to prove we are good. We speak to ensure that the other person sees us in the specific light we wish to be seen. It is a negotiation of identity. When you withdraw from this negotiation, when you choose not to offer your words as a tribute to the social dynamic, something shifts. You become a mirror. This is the first and most practical realization. Silence acts as a vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so does the human ego. When you are silent, the people around you will instinctively rush to fill that space, and in their haste, they reveal who they are. Consider the dynamic of the oversharer. You have met them. They offer you their traumas, their secrets, and their opinions within minutes of meeting you. A cynical view would tell you to fear this person, to view them as a chaotic threat, but look deeper, through the lens of compassion and reality. The person who cannot keep a secret, who cannot endure a moment of quiet, is not powerful. They are leaking energy. They are slaves to their own insecurity. They tell you everything because they are desperately looking for a container to hold their anxiety. They are trying to outsource their emotional regulation to you. When you remain silent in the face of this, you are not being cruel. You are simply declining the invitation to participate in their chaos. You are observing. And this observation protects you. By speaking less, you prevent yourself from becoming entangled in dramas that do not belong to you. You see the truth of the person before you, not a predator, but a wounded child seeking validation. However, we must apply the mirror to ourselves. We cannot simply judge the noisy world without asking, why do we speak? Why do you feel the urge to explain yourself when someone misunderstands you? Why do you rush to fill the silence when a conversation stalls? This is where the shadow lives. We often talk because we are afraid of what the silence says about us. We fear that if we do not explain our intentions, people will think we are bad. This is the curse of the people pleaser. The people pleaser believes that they can control the perceptions of others through words. They think, if I just explain it clearly enough, they will love me. They will see I am innocent. This is a trap. It is the trap of the savior complex. You are trying to save yourself from judgment. But the harsh truth is that you cannot control how others perceive you, no matter how many words you use. By over-explaining, you are actually signaling submission. You are telling the world, I do not trust my own character. I need you to validate it for me. Silence, in this context, is an act of faith in yourself. It is the ability to be misunderstood and not care. It is the capacity to sit in the tension of judgment and realize that you are still whole. When you stop trying to convince people of your worth, you begin to actually possess it. Let us move into the mechanics of this dynamic, the practical toolkit of silence in everyday interactions. There is a concept in negotiation and social strategy known as the revealed hand. In card games, as in life, the person who shows their cards first loses the advantage. When you speak, you are revealing your position, your desires, your fears, and your intelligence. You are giving the world data. There is a strange paradox here. The more you speak, the less you are heard. We have all seen the person in the meeting who talks for 10 minutes but says nothing. And we have seen the person who sits quietly, listens, and then speaks one sentence that cuts to the core of the issue. This is the law of scarcity applied to words. If your words are rare, they become valuable. If they are constant, they become inflation currency, worthless. But let us look at the interrogator. This is the person who asks you question after question, probing your life. They may seem interested, but often they are mining for information to use as leverage, or simply to compare themselves to you. The old reaction might be to get defensive or to lie. The wise reaction, the reaction of the sage, is simply to offer the gray rock of silence, or the minimal answer. Why do they do this? Why do they pry? Again, look at the shadow. They are often driven by envy or a fear that they are falling behind. They need to know where you stand so they can calculate their own position in the hierarchy. When you answer vaguely, or when you answer with a question, why do you ask? You are not fighting them. You are simply holding up a mirror. You are forcing them to confront their own curiosity. Often, they will stumble. They will reveal their true intent. Oh, I was just wondering because, and the truth comes out. Silence forces the other person to show their hand. There is also the matter of the boundary test. People will often use words to push against your walls, to see what you will tolerate. They might make a sarcastic joke, a backhanded compliment, or a rude inquiry. The instinct is to snap back, to argue, to defend. But defense is engagement. Defense validates the attack. When you respond to disrespect with silence, a prolonged, calm, unbroken gaze, you send a message louder than any shout. You are signaling that their behavior was so beneath you that it does not even merit a verbal response. You are signaling that you are not on the same level as the insult. It is a non-response that creates a vacuum of shame. The other person, left in that silence, often begins to backpedal. They chuckle nervously. They say, I was just joking. They try to fix the tension. Why does this work? Because you denied them the emotional fuel they were seeking. Most toxicity is a request for attention. Even negative attention feeds the ego of the unconscious person. By giving them silence, you starve the behavior. You teach them, without a single lecture, that you are not a source of supply for their drama. But now, we must pivot. We must turn the camera around toward the most difficult person you will ever have to silence: yourself. It is easy to critique the noise of the world. It is much harder to confront the noise in your own head. Why is it so difficult to sit alone in a room, without a phone, without music, without conversation? Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, the parts of ourselves we reject and hide. Silence is the summoning circle of the shadow. When the external noise stops, the internal voices start. You remember the embarrassment from 10 years ago. You feel the sting of a recent failure. You feel the gnawing anxiety of the future. This is why we talk. This is why we scroll. We are drowning out the call of the soul. We are using noise as a tranquilizer. To embrace silence is to invite these demons to the table. It is to say, I am strong enough to hear what my unconscious mind is trying to tell me. This is where the true strategist is born. You cannot understand human nature if you do not understand your own. And you cannot understand your own nature if you are constantly distracting yourself with the noise of others. The sage mode is not about being a hermit. It is about selective presence. It is about realizing that your energy is a finite resource. Every word you speak is an expenditure of life force. Every argument you enter is a leak in your hull. Think of the times you have regretted speaking, the times you gossiped to fit in and felt dirty afterwards, the times you argued with a fool and became a fool yourself, the times you promised things you could not deliver because you wanted to please someone in the moment. Now, think of the times you regretted silence. They are fewer. Perhaps there was a moment you should have defended the innocent, or spoken a truth to a loved one. Those are the moments where speech is gold. But for the vast majority of our interactions, speech is merely brass. We must also address the superiority complex. It is very easy to listen to this philosophy and decide that you are the silent, wise observer and everyone else is a noisy, unconscious sheep. You must kill this thought immediately. It is a trap of the ego. If you use silence to feel superior to others, you are still playing the game. You are still enslaved by the need for status. The goal is not to look down on the noisy world, but to look at it with deep understanding. When you see someone shouting for attention, do not think, how pathetic. Think, I recognize that hunger. I have felt it too. This humanizes the landscape. It takes the fear out of social interaction. You realize that you are walking through a ward of people who are trying to heal their own invisibility. You do not need to fix them, and you certainly do not need to join them in their screaming. You can simply witness them. There is a profound freedom in this. When you are no longer compelled to react to every stimulus, you become sovereign. Sovereignty means that you are the ruler of your own internal kingdom. The gates to your mind are not wide open. You do not let every passerby walk in with muddy shoes. This brings us to the concept of the open garden. Many people think that boundaries mean building a fortress, stone walls, high towers, archers on the parapets. They think silence is a weapon to keep the world out, but a fortress is a prison. If you lock everyone out, you also lock yourself in. The true sage builds a garden with a gate. The gate is silence. It is the filter. When you are comfortable with silence, you can screen those who wish to enter your life. The wrong people, the manipulators, the chaotic, the energy vampires they hate. Silence. It reflects their void back at them. They will pound on the gate. They will try to provoke you to open it, and when you do not, they will eventually leave to find an easier door. Silence filters them out naturally. But the right people, the people who are also sovereign, they are not afraid of silence. They can sit with you in a quiet room and feel no need to perform. They can endure a pause in the conversation without anxiety. These are the people you let in. The silence did not push them away. It welcomed them. It signaled that here, in this garden, there is no need for masks. So, how do we practice this? How do we move from the intellectual understanding of silence to the embodiment of it? Start small. Start with the 3-second rule. When someone speaks to you, especially if it is a question or a provocation, wait 3 seconds before you answer. In those 3 seconds, you take back control. You break the automatic circuit of stimulus response. You give yourself the space to decide, does this require an answer? What is the best answer? Or is silence the answer? Practice the art of underreacting. When chaos occurs, a glass breaks, someone insults you, a deadline changes, watch the wave of emotion rise within you, but do not give it a voice immediately. Let the wave crest and break. Speak only when the water is calm. And finally, practice the fast of words. Spend a portion of your day where you simply listen. Listen to the sounds of your environment. Listen to the tone of voice people use, not just the words they say. Listen to what is not being said. You will find that when you stop trying to project yourself outward, the world comes to you. People are drawn to those who listen. They trust those who keep their counsel. They respect those who do not scramble for validation. But more importantly, you will find yourself. You will find that beneath the anxiety, beneath the need to please, beneath the constant chatter of the ego, there is a bedrock of stillness that cannot be disturbed. This is not about becoming cold. It is about becoming solid. It is about becoming a harbor in a storm. The ocean outside may be raging. The waves of society may be crashing against the shore, but inside the harbor, the water is still. Do not be afraid of the silence. It is not empty. It is full of answers. It is where you find the strength that you have been looking for in the eyes of others. It was never there. It was here, waiting for you to stop talking long enough to hear it. Walk through the gallery of masks, but do not wear one. Observe the dance, but do not lose your rhythm. Speak only when your words are more beautiful than the silence.